Hello everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today we will be discussing the 2024 election and making an electoral college prediction based on the polling. So yeah, let's just get into that. So currently the polling for the 2024 race between Trump and Kamala Harris is not looking too good for Kamala Harris, and it's looking pretty good for Trump. And really, all of the bad polling that Joe Biden got right before he dropped out, that's pretty much transferred over to Kamala because she's pretty much associated with the Biden administration. I mean, she was the vice president, so you're going to have to carry on that baggage. And looking at the Electoral College, forget about the popular vote for a sec. The Electoral College, looking at the polling, it's doomsday for Kamala Harris. I mean, she's getting her ass slapped fucking everywhere, all throughout the swing states, all throughout the states that you thought were blue states. Now they may be competitive. So let's just get into the Electoral College. So looking at the current map, we got a blank map right here, and looking at the first state that has polling between Kamala Harris and Trump, we have Arizona, and Arizona currently we got a 5 point race, and given that, we are going to put Arizona in the likely column. And Arizona is it going to go by 5 points? Maybe, depending on how much the national environment shifts, but I expect Trump to win it more by 3 to 4 points, not really 5 points. More like a 2016 victory than more close to a McCain victory or a Mitt Romney victory. Just given the fact that Arizona has shifted a little bit to the right currently, and in general, it's more so shifted to the left. It's going to probably even out to a decent Trump victory, but not by much. And the next state that we have polling for is California, and California currently, this is actually a pretty big shocker. Kamala Harris is at 47%, and Trump is at 38%. Now, doing the math quick, that's a 9 point victory. That would actually put California in the likely column. Now, Kamala Harris, she's from California. She should be doing way better than Joe Biden there, and yet currently the polling that we have there is showing it as a 9 point race. If California is a 9 point race, it's over for Kamala Harris. She doesn't win any swing states. As soon as California is a 9% raise, the popular vote isn't even going to be close at that rate. Trump is going to win it by 3 to 4 points. California, very populated state. You don't really want it to be that close. That's a closer margin than it was in 2004. And that was with a much less polarized environment and George Bush being a relatively popular candidate and being the incumbent. Kamala Harris, if her home state is within 9 points, and that home state being California, imagine the panic that would happen if Joe Biden's home state of Delaware was within 10 points. They would lose their shit, and rightfully so, because at that point Biden would have lost the whole election. And if this is actually true, Kamala is not going to be doing too well in the general election. But let's move on with the other states. So, next state that we got for polling, there's not exactly a lot of polling because Kamala Harris really has been only the candidate for a week or two. And currently, recent polling in Florida, it's not really a big shocker. It's 10 points, and that would put it in the safe column. Florida, it's moved so far to the right that really you don't really need to campaign there anymore. For some reason, Kamala Harris is deciding to fund resources to campaign in Florida, and for some reason, Mississippi. I guess she thinks that she can flip those, which Florida, Trump is going to win it by close to 10 points. Mississippi is like a Trump plus 16 state. You are not flipping that no matter how hard you try. It could be a blue wave year. You are not flipping Mississippi. That is wild. That is crazy. That is crazy talk. Why are you funneling resources into states that you can't win? And Apparently, she's abandoning the Midwest because she's not popular there and she's going for the Sun Belt and apparently deep South states. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. But, this is Kamala Harris. She's picking her same team from 2020, and guess what happened in 2020? She didn't get the nomination. So, moving on with the next state, we got Georgia. Now, Georgia, this is a state that for some reason people thought Kamala was going to do better in because she's black. Well, most recent polling, it's a Trump plus 4 victory, and the poll before that, Trump plus 2, Trump plus 2, Trump plus 1, Trump plus 5. Yeah, it's not a close Kamala victory. I mean, it's still kind of close, but really, Georgia going Trump plus 4, that's a terrible result. Joe Biden won it last time, and now Trump is winning it by a wider margin than I expect Arizona to go. That's doomsday right there. And Georgia, it's probably going to go Republican this time. It's probably the least likely state that Kamala can actually hold on to from 2020. And Georgia, you still got a bunch of Republicans there. Atlanta has pretty much maxed out, and that was pretty much the only reason why Democrats even had a chance of winning Georgia. And outside of that, Trump has pretty much everything on his side in Georgia, and this isn't really that far off from the result. Can it go like Georgia plus 5 or Georgia plus 6? Yes, possibly, but I think Georgia plus 4 is actually a pretty accurate result. All right, so our next state is Maine. More bad news because Maine, the current polling there has it also as a likely race, 54% to 45%. And given the five-way poll, that's also an even worse poll because Kamala, she's only beating Trump by 8. So pick your poison, and also that means that Maine is going to be a likely state. And just given that, not looking too good for Kamala. I mean, Michigan right now, Trump plus 3 in the most recent poll. So that's actually a lean state for Michigan. And Michigan, that's always been the most liberal swing state. It's been true from 2016 to 2020 to now. Really liberal swing state. Definitely the most liberal out of the Midwest outside of Illinois. But Michigan plus 3, that means all the other swing states are going to Trump. There's not a possibility that Trump wins Michigan and somehow loses the other swing states because, I mean, that would represent a national environment that's heavily pro Trump. Trump winning Michigan by 3, that's like 3 times the amount that he won Michigan in 2016. 2016, he barely won Michigan. He barely won all the Midwestern states. Trump, Trump plus 3. Biden won Michigan by 3 in 2020. I mean, 3 states are already down, and Trump really only needs to win these 3 swing states, and he's pretty much got it in the bag. Just keep your 2020 states, win these 3 swing states, and it's completely over. Kamala, now she needs to worry about locking in states like California and Maine and possibly even New York, New Jersey, all these states. And that costs money. That costs time. Trump, he doesn't really need to do that. He just needs to go campaign in states and campaign in blue states, and he wins. So, Michigan, Trump plus 3, that's a disastrous result right there, and it doesn't get better with all the other polls. All of them have Kamala down and Trump up. Some of them are just absolutely terrible results for Kamala. You got one where it's a four-way race and Trump is actually beating her by 5. That's a terrible result. But she does do better in Minnesota. Now, Minnesota, the polling here, not exactly great. I mean, we got a Fox News poll, which those usually lean to the left. Kamala would be up by 6 points, which I don't think that's true at all, but there's a 3% margin of error. And then the next poll has her up 10 points with 10% undecideds and also a margin of error of 4.4 points. Is that really true? No, not really, but since we're doing a map based on the polling, Minnesota is going to be a safe blue state, which that doesn't make any sense at all given the current environment and given the fact that Minnesota is definitely not a safe blue state at all. It That doesn't even make any sense. You would have to have not only the current Minneapolis trends, but like 2010 rest of the state trends where half of the counties in rural Minnesota were voting Democrat by 55%. Nevada, that's an actual swing state that we actually have polling on. And we also got polling for New Hampshire. But right now, Nevada, 50% to 40%. So, similar situation to Minnesota. We got the leading candidate with 50% and 10% undecided, with the losing candidate down 10 points at 40%. And the other polling, she doesn't lead in a single poll or even get close to leading. You got Kamala down by 9 points. You got her down by 3 points, 6 points, 8 points. It's an absolute bloodbath right here. And given the five-way poll, she's still down by 2 points. And now, is that really an accurate assessment of Nevada voting in 2024? It's probably going to be the most Republican swing state by far. It might even beat Georgia, but that's kind of up in the air. Nevada going by 10 points, that would be a disaster. If it's from any of these polls, if it goes by any of those, it's going to be a big disaster because Democrats have held onto it ever since 2004. And if Trump manages to win it by a lean or likely margin, that would be a disaster. But since he was up 10 points in the poll, it's going to be a safe state. That is an absolutely disastrous result right there. And New Hampshire, the previous poll, Trump was up by 2 points. And then the newest poll, Kamala is actually up by 7 points. And I mean, is that an accurate assessment? You kind of just need to cut into the middle and make it like a Kamala plus 5 point race, but we're going to go off the most recent poll, so she does win it by a likely margin, but I mean, still, not exactly great results that you're having, and she isn't really that good of a candidate for New England or the Midwest. She doesn't really perform well there. She doesn't perform well at all pretty much anywhere. I mean, she performs pretty shit in California, and that's displayed in the polling also. But especially up north, she doesn't really do that well because doesn't really have much appeal to any voters up there. And currently, the other state that we actually have polling for is New York. And in New York, Kamala is actually leading by 11 points. So that is technically an improvement over Joe Biden. We found a state that she actually improves Joe Biden on outside of Minnesota, but that was a outlier poll, and Nevada, that was also an outlier poll. So, New York, it would be a safe blue state. Not exactly shocking, but it's still kind of close for comfort because not only is that going to get the state even closer in terms of future general elections or even this election, also, those House elections where they're in swing districts, Republicans are looking pretty likely to maintain those or even flip a couple, and you definitely don't want that because then you're just giving up the House. So, might be advised to go campaign there because Trump, he's campaigning there quite a bit, and if you forget about that, then might be a little bit closer. North Carolina, again, there's going to be a massive, massive Trump victory there. And the current polling shows that Trump is actually up 10 points and the previous one 9 points. Kind of a similar situation to the Minnesota and Nevada polls, but since this is based on the polling, we're going to have to put North Carolina in the safe Republican category. And scrolling down, we got more states with polling. We got Ohio. Trump is leading by a safe margin, and I mean, he's kicking Kamala's ass there. It's always going to go by a safe margin, no matter going on with the polling. We got more states with no polling. Now, Pennsylvania, current poll, Kamala is actually beating Trump by 1 point. And then All the rest of the other polls, Trump is beating Kamala, and you got a Fox News poll where she's tied. Now, is Trump likely to win Pennsylvania? Yes. But just given the polling right now, and given the fact that we're going on the most basic poll, Kamala would actually win Pennsylvania, which, I mean, kind of need to. Otherwise, Trump just wins the election. He only needs Georgia and Pennsylvania. He can screw all the other states and just say, I'll just go with Georgia and Pennsylvania, and then he gets his 270. But still, he won pretty much every other swing state, and we haven't even gotten to Wisconsin. So, yeah, it's not exactly the victory that you want. Bunch of other states with no polls. Trump is beating Kamala by a safe margin in Texas. Not exactly a shocker. She doesn't really have much appeal there. And Virginia, this is actually pretty interesting. So, Kamala has led in most of the polls in Virginia, but the most recent poll actually has Trump up too, which would make it actually a lean Republican state, which, given the fact that that would make Virginia 1 point less Republican than Michigan, they would funnel all their resources into donating to whatever candidate they want to put up for the gubernatorial election after Glenn Youngkin leaves office. Because Republicans flipping the state by 2 points, that would be a nightmare scenario for Dems. They would have a panic. Kamala Harris, she would call an emergency meeting because of that. And really, can Trump win Pennsylvania? Yeah. Can he win Michigan? Yeah. Virginia, it's definitely a lot more of a stretch, but can he still win it? Yeah. Yeah, I think that he can win it. It's going to be more of a stretch, but yeah, I think he might be able to pull it off somehow. And especially since he's got the backing of Glenn Youngkin, it's going to make it a little bit easier. If he picked Glenn Youngkin as his vice president, then definitely would be a lot more secured, but I think he just wants him in the office to do whatever he's doing in Virginia right now. So, Virginia, that would be absolutely nightmare fuel for Democrats, and they would pretty much have a field day panicking about that. Washington, we got polling. Kamala is leading by a safe margin, which isn't really shocking at all. Washington is heavily Democrat. Now, Wisconsin, this is the other big swing state, and this is the last one we have. Current polling, Trump is beating Kamala by 1 point, which that is a very, very, very close margin. You do not want it like that, but also pretty much all the polling, Trump is beating her by more than 1 point, and it's not really that much worrying. But there is one poll that Kamala is actually beating Trump by 2 points, one where they're both tied, and then the rest of the polling is just Trump beating her. So, not exactly a great result for Kamala Harris. And those are all the states with polling. So we got quite a few other states to actually put on the map, and I'm just gonna rapid fire through this. In terms of the Republican states, we got Montana, Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, North and South Dakota, all the Nebraskas except the second district. We'll put that as a actually, we'll put that as a tilt Democrat for now. We'll do Kansas safe, Oklahoma safe, Alaska, Louisiana, Arizona, Missouri, Iowa, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. We got safe blue states up here. Actually, we're going to put New Jersey as a likely state. We're going to put Delaware as a likely state, but we also got a bunch of safe states right here. DC, Connecticut, that might be closer to likely, but I mean, it's still got quite a few Democrats there. Vermont Vermont is going to be safe blue. And then in terms of the two congressional districts for Maine, safe, and then we'll put that as safe too. And then we got a bunch of other Democrat states, safe Oregon, safe Colorado. Actually, we'll put it as lean New Mexico. Hawaii is going to be safe. And then Illinois is also going to be safe, but it's definitely going to be closer than last time. And there you go, 306 to 232. Now, if this map was actually reality, Democrats would be absolutely furious, and Kamala would have her entire reputation ruined. She would never be allowed in politics again, unless she pulls a Hillary Clinton. But she can't really blame anyone for losing this election. She can't blame Russia. She can't blame Trump rigging the election because they needed to win this election. And Kamala, if this were to happen, she would fail momentously. Her only victory for the night that would be even important is Pennsylvania, but even then, she wins it by a point. Virginia going red, Nevada going safe red, Arizona being a likely red state, California being within 10 points, New Jersey, Delaware also being within 10 points, and Nebraska's second almost flipping. That would be terrible for Democrats. And Kamala, she would be disowned by the party just as fast as they disowned Biden. But Trump, he would be celebrating about it. I mean, he would probably be a little bit sad that he didn't win Pennsylvania, but he still won the election and flipped Virginia. But, anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye.